Have you ever pondered the possibility that a single tiny error may turn your golden years into a financial and emotional nightmare? Imagine this: Mary, who was 72 years old and full of vitality, had spent her entire life toiling away at her job, meticulously saving money, and making preparations for a comfortable retirement. But one day, she made a decision that was straightforward and appeared to be risk-free at the time. A friend recommended a can't-miss opportunity to her, prompting her to invest a significant portion of her funds in it. A few months later, she discovered that the investment she had made was fraudulent, leading to the loss of all her funds and placing her in a precarious financial situation. The story of Mary is not distinctive. Quite a few senior citizens, like her, make choices that, at the time, appear to be appropriate but ultimately prove to be costly errors. This video will explore the common mistakes made by individuals in their 70s and 80s, along with strategies to prevent them. Stay with us because the information you acquire today has the potential to prevent you from making the same mistake that Mary did. It's possible that the idea of financial preparation will seem superfluous to you as you enter your 70s. Considering that you have probably spent decades putting money down, investing, and creating a budget, truthfully, financial planning is just as important now as it was in your 40s or 50s, if not more so. How come? Your current financial decisions will significantly influence the quality of your life in the future. Let's start with a startling statistic. The Employee Benefit Research Institute survey revealed that more than half of retirees aged 70 and older have savings of less than $50,000. As a result, even a very minor error in financial management can have a significant influence on the stability of your financial situation. Imagine facing an unexpected medical bill or a sudden decline in your pension. Without a sound financial strategy, these events could significantly impact your lifestyle. When you are in your 70s, planning your finances entails more than just making sure you have enough money to last. It involves managing your resources in a systematic manner to ensure that you can meet your needs, enjoy your life, and leave a legacy if that is important to you. To accomplish this, you will need to examine your sources of income, reevaluate your budget, and possibly make adjustments to your investing strategy to lower your risk. But there is also an emotional component to the process of financial planning. The knowledge that you have a strategy in place to deal with whatever comes your way is what gives you the peace of mind that you need. Because of this stability, you are able to devote your attention to taking pleasure in your retirement, spending time with the people you care about, and engaging in activities and pursuits that bring you happiness. In summary, neglecting to plan for your finances in your 70s can be a costly mistake. Whether it's about not having enough money to cover your medical expenses or running out of money in your later years, the risks are too significant to overlook. Therefore, now is the time to assess your financial plan and make any necessary revisions to account for the findings. As you age, you may become more vulnerable to financial scams. The unfortunate reality is that con artists frequently view elderly people as convenient prey, presuming that they have big savings and may not be as knowledgeable about technology or aware of the most recent fraud schemes. As a result of fraud, older citizens lose more than $3 billion a year, according to the Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI. One of the most popular types of scams is known as the grandparent scam, in which a con artist pretends to be a grandchild who is in dire need of quick financial assistance. Another type of fraud is known as the Medicare scam, in which a person who claims to be from Medicare asks for your personal information under the premise that they need to update their records. These cons aim to exploit your trust and urgency, prompting you to make hasty decisions that could lead to significant financial losses. Keeping abreast of the most recent cons is quite necessary if you want to secure your own safety. Maintain a healthy level of skepticism when receiving unsolicited phone calls, emails, or letters, particularly those that request money or personal information. Always be sure that the person you are working with is who they claim to be, and under no circumstances should you transfer money or offer personal information unless you are absolutely convinced that the recipient is legitimate. It is also a beneficial idea to talk about these difficulties with people you can trust, such as friends or family members. They can provide you with a second opinion and help you recognize risks that you may have overlooked. Remember that no respectable business will pressure you to make a decision right away. Take your time, research, and don't be afraid to decline the offer. Failure to keep one's will up to date is one of the most major financial mistakes that seniors make, but it is also one of the most frequently neglected. Don't just create a will once and then forget about it. It's a dynamic document that requires updates as your life circumstances evolve. These changes should encourage you to examine your will to ensure that it appropriately reflects your current preferences. Birth of a grandchild, death of a beneficiary, or acquisition of new assets should prompt you to do so. Take, for instance, the following real-life scenario. John, a retired engineer who is now 80 years old, had his will drafted more than 20 years ago. His assets at the time consisted of a modest savings account, a small business, and the home that he had owned with his family. On the other hand, John's company had experienced significant expansion since that time, and he had also acquired more properties. It is unfortunate that John did not revise his will to reflect these changes on any occasion. His outmoded will led to uncertainty among his heirs after he passed away, which in turn led to disagreements within the family and expensive legal fights that should have been avoided from the beginning. Forgetting to update your will can have serious legal and financial consequences. A will that is out of date may not take into account the most recent changes in tax rules, which may result in your heirs having to pay more taxes than is required. It is also possible that it will fail to divide your assets in accordance with your current preferences or exclude new members of your family. In certain situations, a court may challenge an outdated will, leading to lengthy and expensive legal proceedings that could deplete your wealth. Bringing your will up to date is a simple exercise that can spare your loved ones from experiencing stressful and financially burdensome situations that are not necessary. We recommend rereading your will at least once every few years or immediately after a significant life event. Keeping your will up to date ensures the distribution of your assets according to your preferences. This gives you and your family the peace of mind you deserve. It is inevitable that healthcare costs will increase as we get older. Therefore, health insurance is one of the most important components of financial planning for people in their 70s and beyond. However, a significant number of elderly people make the error of not carefully examining the many health insurance options available to them, which can result in expensive consequences. One error that many people make is the assumption that Medicare will pay for all of their medical bills. There are several things that Medicare does not cover, despite the fact that it does provide significant coverage. For instance, the plan does not cover long-term care, dental care, or vision care. Additionally, the plan may not cover prescriptions and specialty treatments, resulting in significant out-of-pocket expenses. In the event that you fail to consider these gaps, you may end up incurring unanticipated costs that destroy your savings. Another mistake that people make is continuing to use the same health insurance plan year after year without evaluating whether or not it continues to fulfill their requirements. It is possible for health insurance plans to undergo annual revisions, which may include modifications to prices, coverage, and provider networks. In addition, your health requirements may shift over time, necessitating more comprehensive coverage or a different set of benefits. Sarah, for example, is a 75-year-old retiree who has been participating in the same Medicare Advantage plan for a number of years. She was under the impression that it would continue to fulfill her requirements. Nevertheless, as she began to experience chronic health problems, she discovered that the network of her plan no longer included the physicians she chose. During the open enrollment period, she had the opportunity to switch plans, which would have saved her both money and worry. However, by the time she understood this, she had already made large out-of-pocket payments. Examining your health insurance policy on a yearly basis during the open enrollment period is absolutely necessary if you want to avoid these potential disasters. Comparing several plans can help you determine whether or not there is one that provides superior coverage for your current health requirements. You might want to think about having a conversation with a healthcare expert who can assist you in navigating the difficulties of Medicare and other insurance choices. Additionally, you should think about obtaining additional insurance to cover costs that Medicare does not have coverage for. For example, a Medigap policy or a long-term care insurance plan could fall under this category. These plans, despite the fact that they come with additional charges, have the potential to offer valuable protection against major out-of-pocket payments, thus assisting in the preservation of your savings. Despite the fact that Social Security is an essential source of income for a large number of seniors, relying only on it as your source of income can be a financially disastrous mistake. In 2023, the average monthly income from Social Security is approximately $1,827, translating to approximately $21,924 annually. Although this may be sufficient to meet the essentials of living, it is highly unlikely to offer enough money to enable you to maintain the lifestyle you wish, particularly in light of the fact that healthcare and other expenses continue to climb. First, let's investigate the reasons why this is such a serious problem. Social Security, as a retirement income source, never intended to be participants' only option. We established it specifically to supplement other income sources like pensions, savings, and investments. Nevertheless, as a result of the collapse of traditional pensions and the difficulties that many people encounter in terms of accumulating considerable assets for retirement, an increasing number of elderly people are dependent on Social Security as their primary or only source of income. Please consider the situation of Robert, a 78-year-old widower who has always believed that his Social Security income would be sufficient to support him. Unfortunately, after covering essential costs such as accommodation, food, and utilities, Robert discovered that he had very little money left over for unexpected bills or spending on things that he wanted to do. Because he did not have any other sources of income, he had a difficult time making ends meet, and any unanticipated expense, such as a bill for medical care or a car repair, had the potential to put him in a state of debt. Diversifying your sources of income is absolutely necessary if you want to prevent this circumstance. Retirement accounts such as 401(k), or IRAs, the generation of income from part-time work, or even the consideration of annuities that provide a guaranteed income stream are all examples of situations that could fall under this category. If you have the excellent fortune to have investments, you should make sure that they are in line with your present financial demands and the amount of risk you are willing to take. If possible, you should also consider delaying the payment of your Social Security benefits. You can begin collecting benefits as early as the age of 62, but prolonging the beginning of your benefits until your full retirement age or even until the age of 70 can greatly boost the amount of money you receive each month. By using this method, you may be able to increase your income later in life, when you may need it the most. Because inflation steadily reduces your purchasing power over time, it is common practice to refer to it as the silent thief. When it comes to seniors, particularly those who live on a fixed income, underestimating the impact of inflation can be a costly mistake that lowers your standard of living during retirement by a significant amount. Inflation refers to the gradual increase in the prices of goods and services over time, leading to a reduction in the purchasing power of money. Consider the following scenario: if inflation is 3% each year on average, then something that costs $100 now would cost around $134 in 10 years. At first glance, this would not appear to be a significant amount. Nevertheless, when seen over a period of 20 or 30 years, the cumulative effect can be quite significant. The story of Margaret, a retired educator who is 82 years old, is worth considering. 20 years ago, when she officially retired for the first time, her pension and Social Security benefits were more than sufficient to meet all of her costs. Margaret, on the other hand, became aware as the years went by that her money was not stretching as far as it had in the past. Not only had the prices of groceries, electricity, and medical care increased dramatically, but her income had stayed essentially unchanged throughout this time period. Because Margaret did not have any assets or other sources of income that were able to keep up with inflation, she found herself having to reduce the number of essentials she purchased and live a more austere lifestyle than anticipated. It is essential to have at least a portion of your retirement funds invested in assets that have the potential to surpass inflation in order to shield yourself from the effects of inflation. Stocks, real estate, and inflation-protected securities, such as Treasury inflation-protected securities, TIPS, could all be included in this category. Despite the potential risks associated with these investments, they also offer the potential for growth, which can help sustain your spending power over time. In addition, when establishing your budget for retirement, it is essential to consider the influence that inflation will have. Regularly review the budget to ensure it accurately reflects current prices, and include a buffer to account for rising costs. If you are receiving a pension, check to see if your pension includes cost of living adjustments, COLAs, which are increases in your income that are proportional to the rate of inflation. That may force you to rely more on alternative income sources that can grow. Older citizens frequently use downsizing as a strategy to reduce their living expenses, simplify their lives, and release equity from their homes. Nevertheless, downsizing without a well-thought-out plan can result in unforeseen expenses and difficulties, which may be more detrimental than the benefits of the reduction. One might think that downsizing is a straightforward concept. You sell your larger home, move into a smaller one, and then keep the difference in your pocket. On the other hand, before making such a crucial choice, there are a number of considerations to take into account. First and foremost, the fees associated with selling your property can be quite high. These expenses include real estate commissions, moving expenses, and the possibility of repairs. In addition, the cost of smaller homes or condos in attractive locations can be greater than you anticipated, particularly if you are moving to a location that is a popular destination for retirees. To illustrate this point, consider the case of Tom and Linda, a couple in their late 70s who decided to relocate from their family home to a more compact condo. They believed that the move would help them save money and create a more straightforward way of living for them. However, after taking into account the expenses associated with relocation, homeowner association, HOA, fees, and the cost of the new condo, they came to the conclusion that their savings were significantly lower than they had anticipated. In addition, they discovered that the apartment's size did not meet their expectations in terms of how well it would support their way of life, resulting in feelings of regret. It is critical to approach downsizing with a detailed plan in order to avoid each of these potential hazards. First, you should assess both your present and future requirements. Consider factors such as the proximity to healthcare facilities, accessibility features, and the availability of social activities tailored to your interests. Do some research on the costs of buying and maintaining a smaller property, and be honest about how much equity you will gain after selling your current home. It is also a beneficial idea to get the advice of a financial expert, who will be able to assist you in determining whether or not downsizing is appropriate for your comprehensive financial situation. In certain circumstances, it may be more advantageous to remain in the property that you are currently residing in and investigate alternative possibilities, such as refinancing, obtaining a reverse mortgage, or making improvements to continue living in the same location. Often overlooked in retirement planning, neglecting long-term care can lead to costly mistakes. As we get older, the possibility that we may require some kind of long-term care, whether it is support in the comfort of our own homes, assisted living, or assisted living facilities, increases. Regrettably, a significant number of elderly people either fail to recognize the magnitude of the expenses associated with long-term care or incorrectly believe that Medicare will pay these costs. The cost of long-term care is excessive. Recent studies have shown that the average cost of a private room in a nursing home is more than $100,000 per year, whereas the yearly cost of assisted living facilities might be somewhere around $50,000. Although it is often less expensive, in-home care can still add up to a significant amount of money, particularly if you want support around the clock. Unless you have a strategy to meet these costs, it is possible that you will quickly drain your savings, leaving you in a precarious financial position. Take, for example, the case of Alice, a widow who was in good health up until the time when she suffered a stroke. Alice is 79 years old or older. Suddenly, Alice found herself in a position where she required daily assistance with chores such as taking a shower, getting dressed, and preparing meals. Her family had the misconception that Medicare would pay for the expenses associated with a nursing home. Nevertheless, they were taken aback when they discovered that Medicare only offered limited coverage for short-term care. As a result, Alice had to use her funds to pay for her medical care, which greatly reduced her sense of financial security. As part of your overall retirement strategy, It is vital to make preparations for long-term care in order to prevent the situation described above. First things first, do some research on the various forms of care that are available in your area and the expenses that are involved with them. You should consider purchasing long-term care insurance, which can help cover the cost of care in the event that you need it. Despite the fact that these policies can be rather pricey, they offer a significant amount of financial protection and ensure peace of mind. If you do not have access to long-term care insurance, you should investigate other options for covering prospective long-term care costs. Setting aside a portion of your savings specifically for long-term care, contemplating a hybrid insurance product that combines life insurance with long-term care coverage, or even intending to utilize the equity in your house to pay for care are all examples of things that could fall under this category. In your 70s and 80s, estate planning becomes even more crucial. Estate planning is crucial at any age. The unfortunate reality is that a significant number of elderly people fail to maintain the most recent versions of their estate planning paperwork, which can result in legal issues, disagreements within the family, and the unintended transfer of assets after their passing. A will, a power of attorney, and a healthcare directive are often the three primary components that make up the heart of an estate plan. These documents guarantee the honoring of your choices regarding asset disposal, the management of your affairs in the event of incapacitation, and your medical treatment preferences. You must, however, examine and update these agreements on a regular basis in order to reflect changes in your living circumstances, such as the birth of a grandchild, the loss of a spouse, or significant changes in your financial condition. Simply producing these documents is not sufficient. For example, consider George, a retired engineer who was 85 years old. When George drafted his will, he designated his wife as the primary beneficiary, and he named his children as contingent beneficiaries. This was 25 years ago. George's wife went away during the course of his life, and consequently, he got emotionally distant from one of his children. Despite this, he never changed his will to reflect the changes in his circumstances. The outmoded will dispersed George's fortune upon his death, leading to a lengthy and expensive probate process and causing conflict among his surviving family members. In order to avoid problems of this nature, it is essential to evaluate the documents that pertain to your estate planning on a regular basis, at least once every few years or whenever a big life event takes place. You must update your will to reflect your current preferences, including beneficiary changes and asset distribution. Additionally, your healthcare directive and power of attorney should list the appropriate people who can make decisions for you if you cannot. Make sure that your loved ones and family members are aware of your preferences, in addition to ensuring that your documentation is always up to date. By having open conversations about your estate plan, you can avoid misunderstandings and ensure that everyone is on the same page. When you anticipate any potential conflicts, such as unequal distributions among heirs or the choice of a non-family member as your executor or trustee, this is very crucial to keep in mind. You should consult an estate planning attorney if you haven't already. This attorney will be able to guide you through the intricate process of drafting and amending your documentation. They can also offer advice on how to lower your estate taxes, protect your assets, and ensure the effective execution of your wishes. As we get older, it becomes increasingly crucial for our mental and emotional well-being to maintain social interactions with other people. However, a significant number of elderly people unintentionally isolate themselves, which can result in feelings of loneliness and sadness as well as a reduction in their overall health. It is a mistake that can have major consequences, not only for your happiness but also for your longevity, if you fail to recognize the significance of maintaining social activity or staying engaged in social activities. Several studies have demonstrated that the amount of social engagement significantly influences the preservation of cognitive function and emotional wellness in older people. Research demonstrates that social interaction can aid in preventing depression, reducing stress levels, and bolstering the immune system. Conversely, studies have linked social isolation to a higher risk of dementia, heart disease, and other health problems. Take, for example, the case of John, a widower who, following the death of his wife, gradually withdrew from social activities. John is 78 years old. He eventually stopped going to church, he saw his friends only infrequently, and he spent the majority of his days at home by himself. John's physical health suffered as a result of his growing feelings of isolation and depression, which he experienced over the course of time. In the end, his daughter was successful in persuading him to become a member of a local senior center. Once he joined, he started participating in activities with other people and meeting new friends. This newfound social interaction not only helped his general health and quality of life, but it also elevated his spirits and made him feel better about himself. You should make it a priority to actively seek out opportunities to connect with other people in order to prevent the negative consequences of social isolation. Participating in community events, joining clubs, volunteering, or attending religious services are all examples of activities that could fall under this category. Many communities exclusively create exercise courses, art workshops, and discussion groups for senior citizens. Participation in these activities is an excellent way to make new friends and maintain active engagement with the world around you. When it comes to preserving social relationships, technology may also be a very helpful tool, particularly in situations where mobility or transportation is a problem. It is possible to keep in touch with family and friends even if they are far away through video calls, social media, and online forums. Even if technology will never be able to completely replace face-to-face conversation, it may help bridge the distance and keep you connected all the same. It is important that you do not be afraid to ask for assistance if you are having difficulty maintaining social contacts. Making an effort to maintain your social life is essential to your overall health and well-being. Participating in a support group, consulting with a counselor, or simply asking a friend or family member for friendship can accomplish this. When it comes to planning for retirement, investing is a vital component, yet, choosing decisions based on emotions rather than sensible financial concepts can lead to blunders that require significant financial consequences. It is natural for us to grow more risk-averse as we get older. Nevertheless, allowing fear or overconfidence to drive your investment approach might lead to lost opportunities or losses that are not necessary. Panic selling is the typical emotional blunder that occurs during market downturns. It is natural to have anxiety when the value of your investments decreases. However, selling in a panic can cause you to lock in losses and prevent you from profiting from a market recovery. Taking a more conservative approach to your investments, on the other hand, can also be damaging because it may not deliver the growth that is required to keep up with inflation and maintain your lifestyle throughout retirement. Consider Betty, a retiree who was 76 years old and had a well-diversified portfolio consisting of a combination of assets, including stocks and bonds. During a period of market decline, Betty had a state of panic and liquidated all of her stocks, transferring the proceeds to savings accounts with low yields. This move greatly diminished her portfolio's potential for growth, although it provided her with some short-term peace of mind. As a result, Betty's funds were unable to keep up with the rate of inflation, and she realized that she was having a difficult time maintaining the standard of living she desired. To avoid emotional investment decisions, you need a well-thought-out investment plan that matches your financial goals and risk tolerance. Working with a financial advisor can help you develop a strategy that considers your age, the amount of income you need, and the market conditions. This strategy can help you strike a balance between growth and protection. When it comes to investing, it is also quite important to keep a long-term view of the situation. There is a natural tendency for markets to be volatile, and fluctuations in the near term are a natural and expected component of the investment process. If you are able to maintain your concentration on your long-term objectives and resist the impulse to react rashly to fluctuations in the market, you will be able to avoid making mistakes that are financially detrimental and boost the possibility of accomplishing your retirement priorities. If you're worried about market volatility or asset performance, consider a more conservative strategy with room for growth. Among these options is a diversified portfolio that has a greater proportion of its holdings in dividend-paying stocks or bonds, both of which have the potential to provide income while simultaneously lowering risk. Long-term care is currently one of the most serious financial issues facing seniors. As we get older, the possibility of needing some kind of long-term care increases significantly. This could be in-home assistance, assisted living, or nursing home care. On the other hand, a significant number of people fail to make preparations for these expenditures, which could result in monetary distress and difficult choices in the future. A surprising amount of money may be required for long-term care. Recent research indicates that the average cost of a private room in a nursing home can reach $100,000 per year. One can estimate the monthly expenses of home health aides to be in the hundreds of thousands. Medicare often fails to cover these costs due to its limited coverage for rehabilitation or short-term skilled nursing care. As a result, a significant number of elderly people find themselves draining their savings or relying on family members to fund these expenses. Consider Mary and Tom, who are both in their early 80s and married to each other. They assumed that they were no longer in need of financial assistance because they had diligently saved for retirement. However, when Tom received a diagnosis of Alzheimer's disease and needed full-time care, they quickly realized their savings wouldn't cover the expenses of long-term care. The couple's financial security suffered greatly as they had to spend down their assets to qualify for Medicaid, significantly limiting their options for medical care. To avoid this scenario, it is critical to make preparations for long-term care expenditures well in advance. The purchase of long-term care insurance is one alternative that should be considered. This type of insurance can help you cover the cost of care and preserve your savings account. Obtaining long-term care insurance later in life can lead to hefty premiums. However, the benefits of this type of insurance can be enormous, as it offers protection against a wide variety of care options and helps to preserve your assets. There is also the possibility of investigating hybrid insurance products, which are insurance policies that combine life insurance with benefits for long-term care. These insurances not only provide coverage in the event that you require long-term care, but they also provide a death benefit to your heirs if you do not require such care. Some may find this solution more flexible and cost-effective. It is possible to consider alternate solutions in the event that purchasing long-term care insurance is not viable. You can set aside a specific portion of your funds to cover long-term care bills or invest in assets that you can liquidate if necessary. Furthermore, it is critical to have a thorough understanding of the regulations and standards that pertain to Medicaid eligibility, as well as the potential effects that Medicaid planning methods, such as asset transfer or trust utilization, may have. In addition to financial planning, you should discuss your care preferences with your family. Your loved ones should be aware of your preferences for the type of care you would like to receive, whether it be in-home support, assisted living, or nursing home care. Then, communicate your preferences to them. If you have a plan in place, it can help ease the emotional and financial stress that your family experiences, as well as ensure that you receive the care that you need. In conclusion, failing to make preparations for the expenses associated with long-term care is a mistake that can have significant repercussions for one's finances throughout retirement. Investigating the various alternatives available to you and devising a plan to cover these expenses can protect your finances, preserve your quality of life, and provide peace of mind for yourself and the people you care about. The ability to comprehend and effectively handle required minimum distributions, RMDs, is of utmost importance for retirees who have tax-deferred retirement accounts, such as traditional individual retirement accounts, IRAs, or 401(k)s. Regrettably, a significant number of senior citizens fail to recognize or appreciate these regulations, which can result in expensive penalties and tax repercussions. Once a person reaches a particular age, which is now 73 for the majority of people, the Internal Revenue Service mandates that they begin taking required minimum distributions, RMDs, from their tax-deferred retirement funds. The individual's life expectancy and the account's current balance determine the required minimum distribution, RMD, amount, which they must withdraw annually. If you fail to take the required minimum distribution, RMD, in its entirety, you may face a significant penalty, up to 50% of the amount you should have taken but didn't. Let us consider Susan, a 75-year-old retiree who has multiple standard individual retirement accounts, IRAs, as well as a 401(k) from her previous workplace. Susan forgot to take withdrawals from one of her individual retirement accounts, IRAs, because she was unaware of the requirements regarding required minimum distributions, RMD. When she realized her mistake, a hefty penalty reduced the financial value of her retirement savings. In addition to this, she had to pay taxes on the amount that she ought to have withdrawn, which severely impacted her financial status. In order to avoid making this error, it is essential to get familiar with the regulations governing required minimum distributions, RMD, and to be certain that you are following the criteria for all of your tax-deferred accounts. You can keep on track with the help of the following suggestions. You can stay on track. Check to see which of your retirement accounts are required to take the required minimum distributions, RMDs, if you have more than one. If you consolidate your accounts, managing your dividends may become easier. The 31st of December is typically the last day of the year that you are required to take your RMD. On the other hand, you may postpone the first required minimum distribution, RMD, until April 1st of the year following your 73rd birthday. If you postpone taking your first required minimum distribution, RMD, you may end up having to take 2 distributions in a single year, which could result in an increase in your tax liabilities. Numerous financial institutions provide RMD calculators, which can assist you in determining the appropriate amount to remove from your retirement account. This may be particularly helpful if you have many accounts or if your account balance is fluctuating. Depending on the financial institution, you may be able to set up automatic withdrawals for required minimum distributions, RMD, which will ensure that you fulfill the criteria without having to recall each year. Consider talking with a financial professional if you are uncertain about the regulations governing required minimum distributions, RMD, or how they apply to your situation. It is possible for them to assist you in formulating a plan for managing your distributions and reducing the tax impact. As you navigate the golden years of your life, it is important to keep in mind that the choices you make today can have a significant amount of influence on the financial well-being you experience in the future. You will be able to protect your hard-earned money and ensure a pleasant and secure retirement if you avoid making 5 frequent mistakes: disregarding the consequences of taxes, underestimating the costs of healthcare, forgetting to prepare for long-term care, and failing to take into account required minimum distributions. Take action at any time, it is never too late. You are getting closer and closer to reaching peace of mind with each step that you take, whether it be reviewing your financial plan, consulting with a reliable advisor, or simply keeping yourself educated about the various dangers that could impact your retirement. During your retirement years, you should not be experiencing financial stress or uncertainty. Rather, you should be experiencing joy, discovery, and fulfillment. With careful planning and a proactive approach, you may avoid making mistakes that will cost you a lot of money and still be able to enjoy the retirement that you have worked so hard to attain. We appreciate you being here with us today. If you found this information to be helpful, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel so that you may receive other insightful information on how to make the most of your retirement years. It is important to keep in mind that knowledge is the key to a better and more secure future. Have a safe journey, and we'll catch up with you in the next video.